What's going on? It is your boy Brian Johnson, and we are back finally for another episode of the Real One podcast. It's been a minute. I realize that I've been slacking. I blame y'all for that. Don't worry about it. I was going to do this last week, but your boy is near death last week. So if I sound stuffy and nasal during this episode, that is the reason why. I was sick all last week. But we're back, ready to get into this. It's more of a Q&A style episode this time. Now, we're not taking questions live. I've gotten questions from Twitter, Instagram, from the email. And we're just going to go through them and see where we go. So let's just go ahead and hop in this thing. First question, I feel like it's pretty solid for a first question, is why do I have this podcast? Why did I decide to start it? And for me, I feel like that's simple. I feel like I have a voice and opinion that honestly people just love to hear. That's not me being cocky. I think that's just facts from what I've been told. I think my God-given gift, and my dad will say this all the time, I have a gift for talking. I can talk for days. I can talk with the best of them. I can talk my way out of things. Sometimes I've learned I can talk myself into things. But regardless, I can talk. Throughout middle school, I was president. Sometime in Germany, when I started high school over there, I was president over there too. Many different speaking engagements. We were watching it the other day. I gave a speech at the first joint town hall meeting in Germany between the Army and the Air Force. And other school programs, like I've hosted talent shows and any other community events. So I'm just a natural talker. So that's one reason why I have the podcast, because there's a whole lot of thoughts in my head that you know what, people might want to hear it. So podcast is just a way for me to sit down and just really release. Y'all excuse me as I take a couple sips of this high quality H2O. But yeah, I just believe I have a voice, especially a voice of, it's the voice of the common people, not to sound cliche, but I think I carry an opinion that a lot of young people have that they just don't voice. And I'm just not the one to be scared to say it. So here we are. Speaking of not being scared to say stuff, this brings me to our second topic, which is one I'm sure everybody's heard of by now. I'm a little late because this is going up late, but oh well. I was asked, secondly, before I get into it, the consensus of these questions was to keep them anonymous, so I'm not going to reveal who asked each question, but because some of these do get kind of touchy and controversial, but I don't shy away from it, but I don't want to attach somebody to it per se. So this next question, like I said, getting controversial. What are your thoughts on the new abortion laws? Yikes. To be real with you, I don't even know exactly what the laws are. Let's Google it real quick. Okay, here we go. According to this article out of Time magazine, under the new Alabama Human Life Protection Act, performing an abortion or receiving one in Alabama would be considered a felony. Okay. The legislation, which was signed into law on May 15th, defines a fetus as a legal person for homicide purposes and compares abortion to the Holocaust and genocide. That's crazy. The woman who receives the abortion would not be held criminally culpable or civilly liable. That completely contradicts the first statement. So is it just it's just the person performing that's crazy. Performing the abortion would be getting a felony, not necessarily the woman that is receiving said abortion. Apparently, there's 3 total states that's going this way with abortions: Alabama, Georgia, and Missouri. I'm assuming they're all in the. Missouri. Okay, here's the Missouri abortion law for those who may not be familiar. On May 24th in Missouri, there's a new bill that was signed that would ban abortion in Missouri after 8 weeks of pregnancy. Doctors who perform abortions would face up to 15 years in prison, although women who receive them will not be prosecuted. You know what's crazy? I've never heard that part. Like, I've always heard that abortions are banned and women would be like in prison, but actually this doesn't. Any woman that gets one wouldn't be prosecuted. However, it's kind of a gray area because the doctor that does it would be held liable. So I guess it's kind of a catch-22 there. And the new Georgia law for abortion, signed into law on May 7th, banned abortion. The abortions that would be banned are as soon as physicians can detect a heartbeat. So as soon as there's a heartbeat and you get an abortion, that's a felony. Apparently, a fetus's heartbeat can be detected as early as 6 weeks. This is before women even become aware that they are pregnant. Physicians would be required to check for a heartbeat prior to performing the abortion. Okay. However, this kind of helps, I guess. Physicians would be permitted to perform an abortion up to 20 weeks into a pregnancy in cases of rape or incest, but only if the victim has filed an official police report. That's crazy. A fetus could also be aborted if the pregnancy is determined to be medically futile. If the fetus has a profound and irremediable, that's crazy, has a profound and irreparable congenital or chromosomal anomaly. Why are they using these unnecessarily large words? Y'all, I major in sports. Don't judge me. Chromosomal anomaly that is incompatible with sustaining life after birth. Okay. So, with that all being said, what are my opinions on the new abortion laws and things like that? Well, whether or not I agree with the act of abortion is one thing. But in this case, and I know I'm going to catch heat for it, but my issue, like I said, my issue with abortion, or whether I think abortion is right or wrong, that's one thing. My biggest issue with all this is we got a whole bunch of old white dudes telling women what they can and cannot do with their bodies. That's where I don't really rock with it. Like, I get it. If you try to think from a biblical or moral or religious standpoint, I get it. Like, I understand you think, oh, God loves everybody. Death is wrong. It's murder if it has a heartbeat. I understand that. I understand there's morals, rules, and guidelines that people guide their lives by. However, I feel like there's a certain place where you just don't get a say in somebody else's life. That's just me. I know there's certain issues where the government should intervene, not necessarily with abortion, but with certain issues where you should enforce rules upon somebody's life. That's how we don't get total anarchy. But I do believe there should be certain areas where the government should stay completely out of. And a woman's body is one of them. Especially in the case of incest and rape. To say a doctor that performs an abortion especially in Alabama, is a felony. I feel as if that's just as morally wrong as they think getting one in the first place is. I've heard people say this is a full-on attack on women. To say that, I'm not sure. I would have to read more into it. But I do believe this is an attack on, I don't want to say a right, but I think this is, well, yeah, I'm going to say right. I would say this is a right to choose. This is an attack on a woman's right to choose. Now, do I personally think there's an issue with abortion? I don't know. I haven't really made my mind up. I know the religious answer. Hold up. Y'all forgive me. I need more water real quick. Like I said, I know the religious answer. However, I don't know exactly where I stand. Granted, I believe in the Bible. And if the Bible says it, I believe it. So whatever the Bible says, that's default what I gotta believe in. But as far as these new laws, they're out of pocket. Like I said, there's no way, I believe, people, especially dudes. If it was women making these laws, I'd halfway get it. Like, if it was like a women's council that came together, like, you know what, we're going to ban abortion. In that case, I wouldn't have as big as an issue with it, because you would have a female, what's the word I'm looking for? You would have like a female consensus. You'd have a female mind on the board that made this decision. But if you look at the pictures that have gone around of the politicians that made these injunctions, these acts, these bills, to be real with you, they all kind of look the same. They're all old. Majority of them are white, and they're all men. That's kind of where it's off-putting for me. To have a whole different group make a decision for a whole different group. I make a decision that doesn't affect them, but it affects a whole population of women all over the place. That's the part that's off-putting. That's where I have an issue with it. I don't believe a group of men should sit down and make decisions on women that have nothing to do with them. I could see if it was something that involved both parties. Granted, to get pregnant, it takes two to tango. I get that. But in some of these cases, it's just a woman that's left to take care of the baby. Like they said, in the case of incest or rape, yeah, it takes two to tango, but a lot of those situations are tough and forced upon the woman. Yeah, I didn't expect to get this deep. But I don't see how that makes sense. To say, hey guys, we're going to sit down today. And I know this topic has nothing to do with us, but you know what? Let's ban abortions from women. Let's just get rid of them. Matter of fact, let's not just ban them. Let's make it a felony if anybody performs one. That's where I kind of hop off the boat. I don't know. Anybody that would like to educate me on that, go ahead. Feel free. I'm open to education, but like I said, as for me, at this current juncture, I feel like it's out of pocket. I also don't think those laws will stand much longer. With as much backlash and pushback they've gotten, I don't expect them, if they have officially been signed into law, if they have, I don't expect them to be there much longer. And if they're just bills getting ready to be made into laws, I don't think they'll get that far. Um, Granted, it is Alabama. Alabama has a history of being a garbage state politically. Just look at things like the civil rights movement and things like that. So the fact that it's coming out of Alabama doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Sorry to all those Alabamians that just got offended by what I said. Oh well, facts are facts. But anyway, on to the next question. Lighten this mood a little bit. Next question. Somebody asked, "What is soul, and why do you always post about it on social media?" Well, I'm glad you asked. Soul is a young adults group, I believe, ranging from 18 to 30, located in Myrtle Beach and the surrounding areas. But what we do, it's a basis of learning Jesus, growing, and loving the community, right? Oh, excuse me, stuffy. Anyway, back to what I was saying. People come to Myrtle Beach, come to Conway, especially students, college students. They come there, they go to Coastal, they think it's going to be a big party the entire time. Matter of fact, the slogan that I hate the most is that it's not college, it's Coastal. Meaning that, hey, you come here and it's the rules don't apply. You wake up, you party, you do whatever happens after the party. And then you go to sleep, wake up, and you do it all over again. And then you look at the generation of kids that have come through there. And it's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of people in some garbage situations, and they turn to a certain lifestyle to try to cope with it. This conversation also went deep, but I guess it's about to be a deep episode. But anyway, they come through hurting and they go through situations. And then you some of them drop out of college, some of them leave that certain lifestyle, but then they look for something to put a new foundation in, and then for the longest there was nothing there for them, so they just kind of fell by the wayside. Some of them do turn to churches in the area, but young people going to churches, if you don't have another young person to hold you accountable and to constantly check up on you. I mean, sometimes you can go to a place where there's a lot of older individuals, but how many older individuals actually check up on the younger generation anymore? How many older individuals in churches in that area actually care for the well-being of young students, young adults that come in and out of their church? So for me, Soul is a place of community. It's a community for young adults that provide them that foundation, that community, that accountability. Soul is a place that's hoping to change that narrative of Myrtle Beach, of Coastal. We're a bunch of kids. Yeah, we like to have a good time. Some of the best times I've had since I've been down there is with Soul. But guess what? We're having fun the right way. We're not out here acting fools. Not out here just tearing the place up. We're out here having fun, changing the narrative, learning Jesus, but also sharing Jesus. What good is it to have Jesus and not tell anybody else about him? That's what ain't that the Great Commission? I'm a heathen, I'm sorry. I know it's in what you call it. Matthew 28, right? Let me Google it just to make sure I'm right. Matthew 28. Yeah. Matthew 28, 16 through 20 is the Great Commission. Go out, make disciples of all nations, things like that. That's one thing I think we do a great job of as well. Getting out to the community, feeding the homeless, going into nursing homes, just talking to people that we see. There's many events that we hold on Coastal's campus just to be a smiling face or a hug, a free coffee, a free chocolate, free flowers on Valentine's Day. Something to let people know that, hey, there are people out here that care about you, that are willing to be invested in. And that's what soul is. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure soul stands for Spirit of the Lord. And there's a verse that says, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. So that's kind of where that comes from. But then the second part of that question was, why do I post about it so much on social media? Because I believe, like I kind of said this earlier, why would I have something that I think is so great and not want to share it with anybody else? That seems kind of selfish. If there's been something that has made a positive impact in me, and I've seen it make a positive impact on countless other people, why would I want to hold on to that and not share it with everybody else? Even bigger than that, if the goal of soul is to change the narrative of the surrounding area, like Coastal, Myrtle Beach, all that stuff, how can we change the narrative if we just keep everything in-house? We can't be us four and no more. We've got to post about it. People have got to see it. Especially in this social media generation, you'd be surprised how many people see what's going on at Soul but just don't say anything. Like, I'm here just to plant the seed. If you see it, you don't have to say anything about it. I may not talk to you directly, but you see it. It's in your mind. You know what's going on around here. So now you're thinking. And if I keep you thinking long enough, guess what? You're going to act on those thoughts. Now, you may accept it or you may reject it, but I want a reaction nonetheless. But Soul is definitely a great time. Founded by my boy Carson. Well, he was one of the founding people, from what I understand. They just hit their 2-year anniversary last December. Yeah, sometime in December, it was 2 years of Soul. We're going on the 3rd year now. I've been here I've been in Soul since October 23rd of last year. And just in that short time alone, I've met so many people. I personally have grown. I gave a whole, not sermon, but at a fam night, there was a charge I was asked to give. And I think that's, a year ago, Brian Johnson wouldn't have done that. That's not necessarily my lane, but I think Soul also kind of led me to what I'm doing now, this podcast, using my voice. I think I definitely found more of it. Granted, I've been using my voice all my life. Like I said, I've always been a talker, but I think Soul helped me find my actual voice, because it's one thing to talk, but it's another thing to speak. And I think there's a big difference, and I think I've learned to find that difference, because anybody can talk. Babies talk. But to actually speak and to have meaning in your words is something completely different. That was low-key kind of fire. Y'all should write that down. There's a difference between talking and speaking. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. Babies can talk, but to actually speak and to have your words take meaning and have meaning behind them, that's a completely different thing. Matter of fact, little rant, I think we have too many people in this world today that just talk, and we don't have enough speakers. See, something that speaks to you actually like holds meaning. It takes root. It causes a change. It forces a reaction within you that requires you to think. Something that just talks to you or really just talks at you. It just kind of goes in one ear, and out the other. It's kind of like a parent. I'm going to get myself in trouble. But hypothetically, this is a hypothetical situation. Mama, Daddy, if you're listening, this is a hypothetical situation. Anyway, if you have a parent and is constantly saying stuff at you, any child knows, guess what? I'm not listening to that. It's all talk. They can just say stuff and say stuff and say stuff. But somebody that speaks, that actually sits you down, it captivates your attention, and actually holds you, and you get enthralled by it. That actually somebody that speaks completely different. Matter of fact, we all have that one person we know. It might not be a parent, might be a friend, especially in a friend group. You got somebody that just talks all the time, and you're like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, shut up. But you also have that other friend in the group that when they speak, people listen. It's the biggest difference. I've heard pastors that just talk, and you leave church that Sunday like, what was he even saying? But then you have pastors that, like I have now, shout out to Pastor Christopher Stackhouse. When he speaks, people listen. I listen. I used to be the kid that like played on my phone and shit. Well, Mama, I ain't really do that. Well, Mama, if you listen, just don't listen to this part. I used to be the kid that fell asleep in church, played on my phone, things like that. Didn't really pay attention. But now, like, this is one of the very few pastors that when they preach and when they speak, I'm on the edge of my seat the entire time. I'm actually focused, laser focused, ready to see what he's going to say next, because when he speaks, I know his words actually hold weight and they have some type of meaning behind them. I don't know how in the world I got to this point. We were talking about soul. How did I get this far? I don't know how I got to speaking versus talking, but oh well, I'll listen to it in editing and we'll figure out how I got here. Anyway, that's soul, and that's why I post about it. I definitely encourage anybody that's in the Myrtle Beach area, Conway area, anywhere up and down the Grand Strand, from ages 18 to 30, come out. You have a place in soul. I know you probably think any other religious organization, oh, they're going to turn me away. I got to clean myself up real quick. I got to get right. We don't care about all that stuff. I don't care if you did crack before you got there. Well, no, yeah, I don't care if you did crack before you got there. Getting you there is what we want. Granted, we know you did crack. Guess what we're going to tell you? Hey, don't do crack. Don't do crack. We're going to love you through it. We're going to give you Jesus through it. But guess what? We're not going to force this change upon you saying, hey, you can't drink alcohol anymore if you're going to come to soul. No. We're going to love you through it. If you're out here getting drunk all the time, we're going to say, hey, that lifestyle is not conducive to the one you should be living. That's a whole nother topic within itself. But anyway, we're going to love you through it. And guess what? I've seen so many people come through here that just showed up. I'm not going to call any names because I don't know if I have the freedom to do so. But there's a guy I'm thinking of now. His story is completely different. Well, not completely different. It's completely like this. Showed up, doing drugs and stuff like that, smoking all the time. But then the change we've seen in him since he fully committed is crazy. He said he hasn't had any type of urge to do anything like that anymore. And he's constantly here in community, constantly growing, constantly learning, loving on people and things like that. And I think that's what people fail to realize. Soul, or even the church in general, it's not a club where perfect people come together and just party in Jesus all the time. The church, and especially soul, it's more of a hospital for the hurting. That's really what it's supposed to be. The Bible says, come as you are. It doesn't say come how you should be. Because that process only comes when you get Jesus from the. Matter of fact, let me stop before I start preaching. But there's a process you go through, but guess what? The first part of the process is just showing up. The process does not start until you show up. There is no, oh, let me get right real quick before I go. No, that's not how that works. Show up first, and guess what? We'll love you through it. I also don't want, the way I just said that, I don't want this to seem like it's like Alcoholics Anonymous or some type of rehab center either. It's a place where we actually sit down, dive into the Word, share real conversations with people. You might cry a couple times. I've seen it. But the actual true change that takes place, whether it's at Aspen, whether it's at a G night at somebody's house, whether it's on the season trip, first of all. Season 5 was one of the best trips I've ever been on. Like with anybody. The amount of stuff, the changes that I've seen. I saw somebody get baptized. Like just in the spur of the moment. That was crazy to me. Like we were sitting down having a conversation literally less than 12 hours before that night. Like it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. We had this conversation. She was asking questions. And sitting there, me, Jared, and Bradley knew something was going on. Like the wheels were turning. And then I wake up that morning, they're just in the lake. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, oh yeah, she wants to get baptized today. I'm like, that's crazy. That's why you can't tell me God isn't real. I've seen him work way too much. Way too much into way too many real situations. Situations you can't make up. Anyway, like I was saying, if you're a young adult in Myrtle Beach, get the soul. Get the soul. Really, get to a church, get to Jesus, but find a community that's going to hold you accountable. And we're going to have fun at the same time, too. This past week was cruise week. I wasn't there. I'm actually back home. Excuse me. In North Carolina at this current moment, but they still put on cruise week. I think last night they had a barbecue for Memorial Day or a cookout. They did mini golf one day, I'm pretty sure. Beach. A lot of different stuff. There's events for you. There's a place for you there. All you got to do is show up. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Y'all forgive me. I'm still a little bit under the weather. Allergy season is of the devil. I wholeheartedly believe that. I'm going to switch it up a bit. Next question. Completely out of left field. Matter of fact, I knew I said I was going to keep these anonymous, but now we're going to... This one's not going to be anonymous. Keep in mind, this question came from Jackson Harris himself. And the question reads as thus. Let me make sure I get this right. I'm reading it back. Anyway. Is it possible that you're dating a bad gel? For my old head in the room, a bad gel is a very attractive female. A 10 out of 10, to be exact, is what the question says. But is it possible if she has bad feet? Is it possible if she has bad feet? At first I wasn't going to address this question, but then I realized this could be a really real issue in today's society. You see all the dressed up parts. You see what she wants you to see, but then you get comfortable 2 weeks into the relationship. She takes off her socks for the first time, and you're like, wow. That's crazy. Why does it look like ripped up tree roots on your feet? But the question says, 10 out of 10. Can she be a 10 out of 10? Simple answer, no. Think about it like this. If you're watching a dunk contest during All-Star Weekend, they rate the dunks between 0 and 10. The only way to get a 10 is if you pass. Each aspect of the dunk has to literally be perfect. Every aspect of the dunk has to be perfect. Meaning, the dunk can't be a 10 out of 10 if it's lacking in a certain area. Come on, somebody. I'm about to start preaching. The dunk cannot be perfect. It cannot be a 10 out of 10 if it's lacking in a certain area. Therefore, to address the question, can a girl be a 10 out of 10 with bad feet? No. No. Because if you are not excelling in every aspect, how can you get a 10, a perfect score? Simple as that. It's simple as that. Man, it's Real One Podcast. Keeping it real 100% of the time. For the real ones all over the world, even the ones with bad feet. Hey, if you got bad feet, you got bad feet. That goes for the dudes too. Me personally, my feet are, Anyway, Real One Podcast. Keeping it real. We don't shy away from any question. Speaking of shying away from questions, this next one I'm definitely not shying away from. Question is, why does Cam Newton suck? First of all, there's an issue with your question to begin with. This question automatically assumes the notion that Cam Newton sucks. But see, that couldn't be any further from the truth. You can't show me. This is coming from someone that actually watches Panthers games. If you don't actually sit down and watch Panthers games, I feel like you can't make a notion on whether or not Cam Newton sucks. Yes, stats say one thing, but numbers don't tell the entire story. If you take Cam Newton off this Carolina Panthers team, they go 0-16 every single year. I guarantee it. Not only does it begin with head coaching. The coaching staff is absolutely, it's been suspect for the past couple of years. But from there, the talent around Cam Newton has been subpar since he's been in the league. His last real receiver that was great was Steve Smith. And he only had Steve Smith for maybe 2 seasons when he began his career before he left and went to Baltimore. I know people are saying, oh, he had Kelvin Benjamin. Kelvin Benjamin was a slop. Kelvin Benjamin showed up to training camp 6'5", 280 pounds as a wide receiver. Kelvin Benjamin gave up on routes. Could he have been good? Yeah, he could have been, but he wasn't. Nor is he now. Then you can say Devin Funchess. Well, Devin Funchess was better than Kelvin Benjamin in my opinion, but the same issue. He was big, and he didn't use his size to his advantage. There was a lack of effort there from what I could see. But now, I think, receivers-wise at least, this has been the greatest assemblage of talent Cam has had since he's been in the league. He's got DJ Moore. He's got Curtis Samuel. He's got Torrey Smith, Jarius Wright. He just added Chris Hogan, who came here from the Patriots. He's got Christian McCaffrey coming out the backfield, which, honestly, he might be top 3 running backs in the NFL right now. But then, even if you have a great offense, then you look at the defensive side, and last year our defense had to be ranked bottom 3 in the league. And that's just because we have a garbage defensive coordinator. On paper, that should be one of the best defenses in the league. Got Dante Jackson, James Bradbury, Eric Reed, K'Wan Short, Mario Addison, Don Terry Poe on the defensive line, Luke Kuechly, the best linebacker in the history of football. And that's not even me being biased or an exaggeration. It's a fact at this point. He'll finish his career as the greatest linebacker to ever do it. Beside the point. Cam Newton, going back to the offensive side, does not have an offensive line. If you look at the moments where his offensive line actually held up, that's where Cam excelled. If you give Cam an offensive line time to throw, guess what? He's going to tear up the defense. If you look at I hate to bring it up, if you look at what Ben Roethlisberger did when we played the Steelers last year, week 9, I believe it was. Yeah, week 9. On Thursday night when we played the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger had a smooth 5-6 seconds in the pocket every single time. Every single time. That's part because he has one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. But it's also because we have one of the worst coached defensive lines in the NFL. If you gave Cam the offensive line that Ben Roethlisberger had that night, I guarantee you the score is completely different. I guarantee you. His offensive line is so bad that it finally led to his eventual demise in the season with his shoulder injury. And then if you look at the backups we brought into play behind that same offensive line, one lasted one game before he got hurt. The other one lasted, half a quarter before he got hurt? So that same offensive line took out 3 quarterbacks in one season. You can't put that on Cam. That's clearly an offensive line issue. Clearly. So the notion that Cam Newton sucks is completely asinine. You can even ask somebody that's not a Carolina Panthers fan. If you really want to be, what's it, objective? Or is it objective or subjective? I told y'all I major in sports. Don't judge me. Whichever one means to be non-biased. That's what I'm going to say. But if you really want to look at it, Cam Newton, if we're talking about most valuable player to each team, most valuable, it should be Cam Newton almost every year. Look, you take Brady off the Patriots, like they did a couple years ago for a suspension. They still had a winning record. You take Cam off the Panthers, like I said earlier, it's number 1 pick every single year. If you take Cam Newton off of that Panthers team, they are nothing. I think up there you could also put Russell Wilson. If you take him off the Seahawks, they're nothing. Anyway, the question was garbage to begin with, but I was glad to attack it because, like I said, we don't shy away from questions over here. Next question. Why is it, this is the one that got deep. Why is it that I have to cut off friends that don't live like I do when it comes to God? Well, first of all, you don't have to cut off friends just because they don't believe the same things you do. That's not the case. I think what you're getting at is something I've heard as well in my life, that some friends you're going to have to lose as you continue to walk with God. I don't know why this always turns into a religious thing. When I created the show, I had no intentions of it being full on religious. But if these are the questions I'll have, I'll answer them gladly. But anyway, like I was saying, I do believe at certain points of your life you're going to get to a point where hey, either I got to choose my friends or I got to choose God. And then hopefully in making that decision, you make the right one and you choose God. There's going to be a point where it's going to suck. It's going to. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy. But there's going to be a point where some of your best friends you've had since kindergarten, some of the best friends you had throughout high school, you're going to say, hey, I love you, but I've got to make this move that's going to make my life better. Now, they're more than likely to join you on that drought. They are more than likely, hey, you can follow this guy named Jesus too. And that way, hey, we don't have to make this decision. But you're also going to have those friends that are going to reject Jesus. They're not going to believe in anything like that. They're going to try to hold you down. But there's going to come a point where, like you said, you're going to have to cut them off. That's just the it hurts. It's painful, but it's the truth. I believe it's in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. I should have looked this up beforehand, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. 1 Corinthians 15 and 33. Yeah. Where it talks about bad company corrupts good character. In some it says bad company corrupts good morale or corrupts good habits. Depends on which translation you have. And I wholeheartedly believe that. Who you hang around is really a reflection of who you are. Most people tend to go into friend groups that reflect the same lifestyle, reflect the same mindset, reflect the same. Okay, I'm out of synonyms. But anyway, you're kind of a reflection of your friend group. So I think if you begin to find the dynamic in your friend group shifting, where you're going one way following Jesus, and they're going one way, and they want to continue to live a certain lifestyle that can't coexist with following Jesus, there's going to be a conversation that needs to be had saying, hey, I love you all, but hey, I can't hang with you all the same way I used to hang. I'll still speak. I'll still come by and visit every now and then. I got to get my life together and live it in a way that I know I can make it in when Judgment Day rolls around. I've been in that situation. There's people I don't talk to anymore, not because I'm like, hey, I got Jesus, forget you. That's not what it was. It was just, I see the lifestyle you live. And guess what? I can help you get over here. But I can't be a part of that because it's going to make me trip up. And I don't want to be put in that predicament. Because I'd much rather make people mad than make God mad. Because people ain't got a place to put me. I always get in this preachy mode, but let me chill out and just answer the question. But anyway. Why would I spend my entire life trying to please people and friends when at the end of the day, when I die, what are they really gonna do for me? Salvation doesn't come from people. At the end of the day, we'll just all be dead if it wasn't for God. So I'm gonna follow this dude Jesus over here that's got this place called heaven, which I would like to go one day. Hopefully you make it there too. But at this crossroads right here, guess what? I'm going to choose him over y'all because, like I said, y'all don't have a heaven to put me in. He does. Now, this doesn't constitute that you've got to be bitter and mean and just completely cut off all ties. Some cases you do have to cut off all ties. But in most cases, it doesn't mean, when people say cut off certain friends, it doesn't mean you just completely drop them and, oh, well, they fade into oblivion and we never speak again. It just certainly means that those same friends you used to go to the coop with every Tuesday night, you were like, hey, I can't do this anymore. I know I just stepped on some toes right there. But anyway. That's what it means when people say, I have to cut off friends, you have to let some friends go. That's the basis of it. It's not like I said, it's not a mean or vindictive process. It's not anything meant to be bitter or hostile. It's just, hey, simply, we have a difference in opinions. And I love saying this, you can either get right or you will get left. But, meaning, you can either, hey, join this trip with me. Or I'm like, hey, I'll go if I gotta go by myself. Because that's one thing. You can't save people. There's this mentality of like, oh, I gotta bring everybody with me and let's all go to heaven. God didn't call you to save people. God saves people. You might be used in certain situations to save people, but you can't save everybody else. That goes for friend groups where you're trying to, oh, let me do everything they do. Let me if they see a Christian there, they're like, oh, there's hope. That's not always the case. This is going to sound confusing, but I know it's facts. Or jumping into relationships with people that don't have that same Christian belief as you. Thinking, oh, I'm going to get into this relationship and I'm going to save shawty, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to bring her to Jesus, you know what I'm saying? I don't know why that's my go-to guy voice. Any examples? I don't know why that's my go-to. But anyway, don't go into relationships, don't go into friendships thinking, hey, I know you don't think the way I do, but guess what? I'm going to change you. There's only one person on this planet that can change people. Well, I say planet, but you know what I'm talking about. You don't change people. God changes people, and he may use you as an instrument, but at the end of the day, people are only going to change if God says so. You don't go out with your mortal mindset going on saying, hey, I'm going to change this person. Granted, I'm not saying you're a bad person for trying to do so, but I'm saying you will put yourself in a world of hurt when you do all this, bending over backwards and jumping through hoops, trying to save somebody when the only person that can save is Jesus himself. Don't try to change people. Don't try to bend your rules, your standards, trying to change somebody else to bring them your way. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just lead by example. You can't always hold people's hands. You can't always just pick them up and drag them with you. You've got to lead by example. And then when they see how great you've done, it'll either fire up the initiative in them to make them walk that way too, or they're going to sit there and like, wow, I regret not doing that. That's that on that. Since we're already all the way deep in this, let's keep it rolling. Somebody had asked this question on Thursday, I believe. And when they asked it, I'm like, hey, no, just call me real quick. I'm not going to film the show today, but I want to answer this question first because it's kind of a deep question. I say deep, but that's so cliche. It's a lot to unpack. The question is, I want to believe in God, but there's a lot that doesn't make sense in the Bible. And how can I believe in something that does not make sense to me? I'm like, okay, that's a fair question. I'm like, I wonder which part of the Bible doesn't make sense to them. And then a lot of their questions came from like stuff like Jonah, was he really swallowed by a whale? Or Adam and Eve, if they were the first two people on the planet, like, are we all cousins? Yeah. I would assume so. It goes so far back, I'm pretty sure there's no type of connection at this point, but yeah. And other things. But I think what our conversation really came from, what I told them is, I think far too often, us as humans, we try to think on God's level. Excuse me. We try to think on God's level, and that's just That's impossible. Why are you trying to think on the level of the supernatural when you only have the capability of a natural mind? You can't comprehend what God comprehends. You can't remotely fathom the things that he thinks about or has done. Granted, it says we'll understand it by and by. So as time goes on, we will gain revelations, we'll gain insight, we'll gain wisdom and knowledge on things that are spoken on in the Bible. But some things, honestly, is just not meant for you to know. God doesn't have to do things and then explain them to us. Nowhere does it say that. God does something, guess what? God just did it, and that just might be the end of it. Now, sometimes God will do things and explain himself. And like in the Bible with the flood, he's like, oh, if God loves us, why would he flood the earth? Well, there was reason for that. Wickedness and evil had filled the earth. And God saved the only righteous people that were left in Noah. Yeah, Noah and his family. Everything that God does may not please you, but that does not mean he warrants or he's warranted to give you an explanation for his actions. Now, some stories in the Bible, I get it can be a lot. Like Jonah. That's the question I get a lot. Like, how is that legit? Dude spent days inside the belly of a whale or a big fish and just came out fine. I mean, yeah, if you think about it in your natural human mindset, then yeah, that seems far-fetched. But when you realize there's a God that can do exceedingly abundantly above all you can remotely ask or think. See, people, when I say that, I just kind of hit me how crazy that is. He's able to do more than you can remotely think. Like, if you think about, like right now, just think about what you want the most in life. Whatever the most extravagant, craziest request you could possibly ask for. Whatever that is, if you think about that, God can do so much better than that you can't even realize it. So if dude was stuck in the belly of a whale, fish, whatever it was, do I believe that's possible? Yeah. Because God can do whatever God wants to do. Stop trying to put your normal limitations on a God that can do anything. So many times I think we try to put God on our level, on this natural level. We try to apply a science to everything. You can't apply science to the one that created it. That's fire. You should probably write that down too. You can't apply science to the one who created it. You can't apply philosophy. You can't apply any type of principle or methodology on this earth to somebody that is responsible for the creation of it all. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna leave it there. That was a good drop the mic moment. I'm gonna leave that question there. If you got any more, see Bradley Bridges. No, don't ask me. No, I'm playing. You can ask me, and I'll just ask Bradley. We're moving on through this. I think we'll do a couple more. Last two are sports questions, so I think that's good to end it on a high note. Next question is, can the Lakers win a title with the current team they have now? Honestly, against popular belief, or contrary to popular belief, that's what I was going with. I think they can. I honestly think they can. With the growth of Lonzo Ball, who honestly has grown into one of the best defenders in the NBA. I don't care what anybody says. Lonzo Ball is a nice defender for, 3 years into the league? He's a great defender. And then you got Kyle Kuzma, who's one of the best young players in the league right now as far as versatility. Yeah, versatility. That's the word. 3-point ability, defending, playing in the low post, things like that. Then you got LeBron James. You can't count out any team with LeBron James on it. If you look at that, what was it, 2000, the last time they made the finals, so what, 2017? That Cavaliers team was garbage. That team was garbage. Or look at the first Cavaliers team who took to the finals. That team was garbage. But because they had LeBron James on that team, they made it to the finals. I think they were what, fourth in the West last year before everybody got hurt? They definitely would have made some noise in the playoffs. Once LeBron got hurt, and then Rondo went down, and then Lonzo Ball went down, they went from fourth to like 9th or 10th in the West, and they just never made it back in. So if you give me that young core plus LeBron again, I definitely think they can make some noise in the West. I definitely think so. To win a title, I think it would definitely help if they added another big name player, as in an Anthony Davis, or even a Klay Thompson. A Kawhi Leonard would definitely help. But with this young team right now, plus LeBron's wisdom and the fact that he's LeBron, I think they could do it. I honestly think they could do it. Because I'd take this Lakers team over that Cavs team he had 2 seasons ago in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Plus, the Warriors they're not at their peak anymore. I think they're going to lose Kevin Durant. They might even lose Klay or Draymond as well. Because they can't afford to pay everybody. So I think that leaves the West wide open as well. The Rockets are a joke. This is the Rockets' best chance to take down the Warriors. They had a healthy Chris Paul, a healthy James Harden, and they couldn't do it. And who else is really in contention in the West? You have the Thunder, but as much as I love Russ, I don't think he can do it with his style of play. We have the Nuggets. The Nuggets are not going to do anything. The Jazz aren't going to do anything. So, yeah, that leaves the Lakers up there in the top contention in the West if everybody's healthy. And that leads me to the final question of today. I think it's a great one to leave off on because I think the playoffs, the NBA Finals start today. I think, nope, they start on the 30th. They start on Thursday. All right. Anyway, starts this week. So, question was my 2019 Finals prediction. If you don't know, we got the Golden State Warriors in their, what is this, fifth straight Finals? Yeah, you had the the 5th straight Finals. Versus the Toronto Raptors led by Kawhi Leonard in their first Finals appearance ever. Honestly, a lot of people think this would be a sweep with the Warriors winning right out with their, this should be a three-peat as far as championships goes for the Warriors. But I don't think it'll be that easy. I do think Kawhi, it's going to be a make-or-break moment for Kawhi. Can he lead a team against a powerhouse team in the Warriors and at least take them 6 games? I think it'll go at least 6. Do I think the Raptors will win? Nah. I think Warriors would take it in 6 or 7. But honestly, if the Raptors found a way, if you shut down Steph Curry, I honestly believe if Kevin Durant is out, and you find a way to isolate Steph Curry and shut him down, I wholeheartedly believe the Raptors could win this in 6 or 7 games. They shut down Steph 5 or 6 games. The wild card in all this is Kevin Durant. Is Kevin Durant going to be healthy enough to come back? I think if Durant comes back, then yeah, it's going to be a sweep, or they'll take it to 5. I think the Raptors get 1 if Durant is healthy. However, if Durant is out for the rest of these finals, I'll give it to. I don't like I said, it's a toss up. If Durant is out, but Steph still plays like he's been playing throughout these playoffs, I think they'll take it. Like I said, 6 or 7. Maybe even 5 or 6. 6 is probably the best number. Let's just put it there. These finals will be won in 6 games. For Toronto, 7. But I think Warriors will win it in 6. Steph will finally get his Finals MVP, and the Warriors will go down as one of the best dynasties in basketball history, or even sports history at that. 5 straight Finals appearances. What is it? 4? That's crazy. They've won 4 championships in the past 5 years. That's ridiculous. I just thought about that. That's crazy. So, shout out to the Warriors. It's been an hour and 7 minutes already. Thank you all for tuning in. I can't speak, apparently. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Real One podcast. None of this would be possible without the people that tuned in. And this is only the 2nd episode. I don't think I told y'all this, but over the past, month or so since I did the first episode has hit over 1,000 total views. That's crazy to me. Because I'm not some big brand yet. I don't have sponsors or, big corporation sponsors. I don't have a podcast on Apple Podcasts yet. I'm still trying to figure that part out. But literally, this started me in my dorm room with a $25 mic that I bought off of Amazon. And the fact that over 1,000 people that tuned in to see the last episode, whether live or in the post replay, that's crazy to me. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to all the real ones out there. Shout out to the family, my family that shows crazy support. I guess it's just a shout out phase. Shout out to the 2019 graduates. Shout out to people with birthdays today. I don't even know whose birthday it is, but somebody's listening and it's their birthday. Happy birthday. And with that being said, I'm hungry. It's time to get something to eat. Thank you for tuning in. This is Brian Johnson. It's been another episode of the Real One podcast, where we keep it real 100% of the time. The show for the real ones all over the world. Thank you. And until next one. Wow. Until next time, thank you for keeping it real. And always keep it real.